took. So I'd like to pivot for any leaders in the room. We have a lot of brands that are here. How would you help them, like when you're making big decisions, like trusting your gut and helping mitigate risk? Because that was a pretty big risk that you guys took, really paid off. But I'd love for your advice to the audience.
So I think that entrepreneurs in general, doesn't have to be a founder, but somebody who's entrepreneurial, has this mix of ability, like I talked about around looking at the size of a market, hair color, how often women color, frequency, size of the prize of at home versus in a salon. And so there's a side of many entrepreneurs that's very analytical. And that's a great thing. And then there's a side of entrepreneurs that sort of defy the analytics. So opening 90 stores was a situation where we were being contacted by lots of investors, a lot of private equity firms, and they were like, we'd love to put more money into the company during the pandemic, but there's one thing you gotta promise us. So you could probably smile and guess what it was. Just don't open any stores, because retail's dead. Yeah. And our response to that, my response to it was, well, if retail's dead, we're all in trouble. And she's gonna leave her house and go get her hair done. So I kind of knew that the consumer's behavior was gonna drive what we should do. So the thing that I would urge people in the audience is, yeah, data can tell you a lot of things. Some people believe it's facts. I believe it's a roadmap to that thing inside of you that knows the right answer. And the other part I tell you is, even if it's not the right answer, it's the road inside of you to give the courage to do the twisty, windy road to find the right answer. So I always err on analytics and gut.
I love it. Mix of both. What's really cool too with Madison Reed is the fuse of tech that you haven't really seen in the salon industry. So typical salon industry, you're thinking like client formulas on the back of cards in the back room. And Madison Reed, I'd love to hear about like how you're driven technology and how it impacts not only the guest experience, but the stylist using technology as well.
Absolutely. So I think we're in an age where technology is so essential to every business model. It is no longer like a sidebar, right? It is, and especially if you're in a consumer business, our job every day at Madison Reed is to meet our guest exactly where she's at. And by the way, where she's at is on her phone. And so we've taken an approach of really sort of two parts to our tech stack. The first part of our tech stack, which was super early, there's this thing, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called AI. Joke. And about 11 years ago, when I first started to think about the company, we had a thesis that if, without seeing you, because remember, we were a D2C business, right? We weren't seeing our guests, but we were asking them to buy hair color from us. And so some of the friction point of a hair color purchase is the fear that anybody has, but specifically women have, that they pick the wrong color. So we spent a lot of time 10 years ago creating a machine learning model that asked 18 questions, and those questions were emulating what a professional stylist would do if they were looking at your roots. And so we have 18 million hair profiles now. It's really super smart, and how do we know that? The net promoter score of the company is in the 70s, so you don't get that in hair color. The retention's really high, the churn is really low. So we started the base of the business with a predictive model that had a lot of data about our guests. Then on top of that, we layered, when we decided to go into the hair color of our business, a layer that was focused, as you said, on the stylist, the team members. And that layer had to do with what about technology would make their job easier, their job more fulfilling. And that came into the way appointments got presented to guests. It got into, most recently, predictive modeling of labor in stores. So what do I mean by that? If you are running a business with labor, one of your biggest issues is matching demand to labor to day by day part. And that's not an easy thing to do. And so we have built our own systems that actually use machine learning that are actually emulating that we could predict 2 weeks in advance what every single store's guest flow would look like, so we know how to staff it. And now we're moving into variable pricing, because again, anybody in these businesses know Friday at 5 o'clock looks really different than Tuesday at 10 o'clock.